Hello, everyone. It's Catherine Jelinek with the Skinny Platform, and I'm excited today to be here with Kevin Hundal to hear about his nugget to share. Welcome, Kevin.
Catherine, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Great. So, lead us. What's your nugget? What is it all about?
Yeah, so my nugget is all about bringing my personal purpose to the community and to companies that run on EOS. I have a belief system in me which is gravitating around the concept of oneness and really thinking through oneness. EOS is designed in a fashion that really harnesses oneness if we're looking for it, right? And it's about connecting human energy to uplift, empower, and add value to everyone and everything around us. Ultimately, it's around uniting us in a common purpose for the greater good of all, right? And this oneness concept appears in traction in the books that you'll read in many different ways. So the nugget I want to share about is through my experiences as an implementer and working with companies running on EOS, how I've been able to bring it to life and how I believe organizations can further this mindset, because I believe it is the ultimate difference between just being a remarkable business versus just a good business.
So, tell us more about that then. How do the remarkable businesses really live with it, or how do they tie it in?
Yeah, so the concept is in EOS, we talk about this when you're working with an implementer, there's this concept of what we call the journey. And the journey is really about becoming the best leadership team that you can be, right? And there's different components of it. And one of those things is, as a leadership team, having one vision, one voice, and being one team. And the thought process there is that organizations, leadership teams are going to have conflict. It's healthy conflict is what we're looking for. And the reminder to us is always that we're going to walk out in a united front with this one vision, one voice, and one team mindset. So a lot of what the oneness concept brings is kind of putting a bow around all of that and being able to deliver it to organizations. So it's not just through my experience being able to drive it from the leadership team, but also being able to drive it from the front lines of the organization, because they can make impact just as equally as a leadership team can.
There's something about oneness that creates that equality in a way, even though there's different roles that need to be different and different levels of experience, there's that meaning of each player in the ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this living, dynamic organism, if you will, right? And there's all different pieces and different individuals within that living organism. If you view it that way, is the way I always see it when I look at teams and I look at any type of environment in a business.
Yes, I know what you mean. I think that nature has wonderful examples for us if we
Yeah,
just begin to copy it a little better. And
yeah,
it
absolutely.
seems to be mirrored in what you're sharing.
Yeah, and I, kind of thinking through this oneness paradigm, if you will, right? It's about if we can get everyone kind of looking at the business with the same love and having the same considerations in how they go about doing the work that they do, ultimately you get this energy around the business that just starts developing, and it becomes your competitive advantage in the marketplace and in the industry that you serve. So one of the nuggets where I want to give something to the audience about how do you actually apply this is through something I've coined 131. And it's no surprise it starts with one, because I'm consistently kind of hammering the oneness mindset and sharing that with the world. When you think about, again, this one vision, one voice, one team, one of the concepts to kind of bring to teams is how do we really behave and act as one team, right? What's it mean to be one team? What it really means is that we are consistently, as I mentioned before, is adding value to everyone and everything we do in the business. So if we're truly adding value to not only ourselves, but the individuals we work with and ultimately the greater good of the organization, what we really want to do is be coaching people for development, right? Every opportunity, every challenge, every issue is an opportunity to coach for development. So essentially what 131 stands for, and this is the framework that I like any leader manager to start utilizing in the organization, is when people around the business see issues or challenges, typically what's happening, as we know, is there's a lot of threads within the issue. So it takes us time to peel back the onion. And in the 131 framework, the thought is for everyone around the business, when you identify an issue, really consider what the one root cause, challenge, obstacle, or problem is, right? As opposed to coming into a situation or a conversation and perhaps not being crystal clear on what we're actually trying to solve. What you find is we might have a hodgepodge of 5, 7, 8 different things coming out in a singular conversation. So the first one is really motivating your people to think about bringing the one root cause issue to the conversation. So that's the first one, allowing them to really peel back the onion. The three is, now that they've identified in their minds what they believe to be the root cause issue, really challenging them to come up with 3 potential solutions, right? So it's typically not difficult to come to one solution. We can usually do that pretty quickly off the cuff, especially if you're experienced and understand the function that you serve on the accountability chart. 2 is a little bit harder. 3's got you thinking now, right? So, and what you typically find is you find your solve of the right solution when you have to go through this 3 different potential solutions. So it's, hey, identify the one root cause, bring that into the conversation. At the same time, think about the 3 potential solutions. And then I love the last one. And the last one is the question I ask about saying, what are you ready to put your name behind? What is the one strong recommendation, right? If we had to go scream from the mountaintops and say, hey, Catherine came up with this strong recommendation, are you willing to stand there with a smile and be proud and say, I do believe this is the right recommendation to solve the problem? So what I share with my teams, and the nugget I like to share for everyone here, is really starting to embrace 131, because really what that is doing is it's bringing the paradigm of oneness into the organization, allowing everyone to behave as a stakeholder, be a problem solver, and start developing themselves as the individual they are. And in that development, is just creating new opportunities for themselves as well. So that's my 131 nugget around this oneness paradigm.
I love the natural alignment and accountability that practice brings in, and getting people to come with solutions, not just problems. It's obviously very healthy, and having that go on company wide. Do you have clients who are using this already, or is this something newer that you've brought to light?
Yeah, you know what? It's been something. The interesting story is I took my first ever sabbatical in August, so it gave me a lot of opportunity to think.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It was a great experience, yet challenging for sure. Some of the saboteurs and the things that sabotage us started showing up. But to answer your question specifically, I really brought this to life through that sabbatical. I have been sharing it the last 90 days or so, and it's a new concept. I actually was in session today, and I shared it, and the leadership team loved it and said, this is something we're going to share as a theme for the quarter for all of our people. There's about 70 people in their organization. They're going to start bringing the 131 into the conversation starting next week. So I believe that the nugget's going to help. I use it in my own thinking. I think far too often we as leaders, even at the highest level of the accountability chart, suffer from this, right? Is really peeling back the onion. In my own practice of 131, before I try to solve for something, I find 3 potential solutions. Before I hang my hat on the strong recommendation, I might just be even making to myself. So I could say in practice, it's already started to show up through my sabbatical and things I've been doing.
That's such a good thing to highlight right there, where it's important for even the top leaders to practice distilling 3 different options. We all have the front runner that we think of right away in our heads, but the practice of going through and considering what 3 could be, that'll bring new information and new opportunities to light, that there might be something better. And
Yeah.
what a remarkable practice to enforce across the entire company. Yes.
Yeah, and it kind of builds on the coaching habit of asking the question, and what else, right? So as really the strongest leaders who are great coaches, they ask that question, and what else? This three basically prompts that, and what else? So hey, I think this is our solution, and what else? So I'm looking for the second one. Okay, that's great. Is there a third thing you think we can do? So it's really helping people, even for themselves, just be great at really peeling back the issue and really challenging themselves in their considerations, as you mentioned. So the and what else really comes to mind to me when you're thinking about the three potential solutions.
Yes. And what you just said, challenging themselves, which I think is part of what you're sharing with oneness, because when
Yeah,
they challenge themselves, they're sitting with their egos and questioning potentially the first thing that they would have had more likelihood their ego might be stuck on if there's anything stuck on anything. But
yeah.
when you're challenging yourself to continue past that point, that's the healthy exercise there for getting in touch with the oneness of the company and past your own personal preference.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on in that. Uh, Ego is a big part of the thing that the oneness mindset's trying to break, right? And as you said, that it triggered a conversation I had with my therapist in August, and I went in because there was a comment he made, and I wanted to unpack it. It said Kevin likes to win, but he doesn't want anyone else to lose. And in that conversation that I had with him, it wasn't really about the external, it was about me competing with myself. So I've taken that learning of really this is an inside internal thing, and building on what you're saying is through 131, that mindset of us, it challenges us to go inward as well as leaders and managers and see, well, how am I practicing this? This is really an internal thing. And I love that you use the word ego because it is partially about breaking some of that down for ourselves as well internally.
Yes. And so healthy to have a framework that adjusts and allows for you to come in having to work on that yourself without someone having to point it out. Because
Yeah,
that's when the ego gets defensive, right? Is when
yeah,
someone's like, hey,
yeah,
check this.
yeah,
But having a
absolutely.
framework that it right away,
Right,
yes.
absolutely. It creates a common language. So if you imagine around the business, you've got 70 people practicing 131. Just think about the power that happens in one business day in that organization. Not only for the person bringing it to their leader manager, but the whole ecosystem of this living organism of the company. And almost equally as important, the individual who has to talk to themselves at the highest level and say, let me work through this framework. There's just a multiplier effect of impact right there happening.
Wow, I don't know if there's any better comment to wrap up on because getting a sense, I can almost feel that sense of a multiplier effect of what if a
Yeah,
company was really operating like this, everybody working with such accountability and checking their own first assumptions and where they had, you know, poured all their eggs into one basket and having to think about that twice.
yeah,
What if
absolutely.
they were doing
Yeah, great way to bring oneness to the world, right? Through entrepreneurship and our teams here.
You can bring it anyway. Yes, absolutely. That's perfect. And weave it in wherever, right?
Yeah,
And doing this is a really practical tip and tool for that. So thank you for bringing this up. This is
yeah, it's
exciting
my
that
pleasure.
companies get to. Yeah, it'll be fun to hear maybe another time about how your clients are doing with it and what impact it's had since this is really fresh from your sabbatical.
Yeah, we'll be doing a 90-day check here in December when I see some of them that I've been talking about it. So I'll be curious as well and hoping for some impact through it.
I'm sure you will have it. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for this insight, Kevin, and for your time today.
Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate it.
This episode of the Podcast of Nuggets is presented by The Skinny Platform and is released in support of Freedom Reads, a national nonprofit opening handcrafted, curated 500 book libraries in prison cell blocks across America. Freedom libraries are more than just books. They are lifelines. They bring connection, hope, and dignity to prisons. Learn more at freedomreads.org. Freedom begins with a book.